To start the official proceedings, I'd like to acknowledge that we're a meeting in Jarrah country, of which the members and elders of the Jarrah community and their forebears have been custodians for many centuries and have performed age-old ceremonies of celebration, initiation and renewal. We acknowledge their living culture and their unique role in the life of this region. Council meetings are audio and video recorded and are made available to the public via electronic media, including YouTube. Welcome everybody. My name's Matthew Driscoll and I'm the Mayor. We have one councillor who's on leave, Councillor Maltby. Councillors, are there any declarations of interest or conflicts of interest, please? Councillor Neer.
Thanks, Mayor. I would like to declare a conflict of interest at 9.1.2.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillors, next item is the confirmation of confidential minutes of the council meeting 19th of March 2024. Could I have a move for that, please? Councillor Henderson. Is there a seconder? Councillor Anir, thank you. Can I move that motion? Sorry, Councillor.
Yeah, I move that the minutes of the confidential meeting of the Mount Alexander Shire Council held on the 19th of March 2024 be confirmed.
Thank you. And thank you, Councillor Neer. Second. All those in favour? That motion's carried. Thank you. We also have another set of minutes, item 4.2, which is the meeting of council on the 16th of April 2024. Can I have someone introduce that or move that motion, please? Councillor Anir.
Thank you, Mayor. I will move that the minutes of the meeting of the Mount Alexander Shire Council held on 16 April 2024 be confirmed.
Thank you. Do I have a second to that? Thank you, Councillor Henderson. We have a motion in front of us. All those in favour of that motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is 5.1, which is a valet. Councillor McClure.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm pleased to express this acknowledgement on behalf of council. Zintra was a close friend. Zintra Martin was a cherished member of our local education community and the Goldfields Local Learning and Employment Network. Her dedication to the Passions and Pathways program and its implementation during its formative decade was instrumental to the program's success. Zintra impacted the lives of hundreds of young people in our region and will be missed by so many in our community. We send our heartfelt condolences to her partner and sons. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McClure. Next item on the agenda is public question time. Item 6, councillors, could I have a move of the standing orders be suspended, please? Councillor Henderson. That standing orders be suspended. Can I have a second?
Yeah, Mayor.
Second to Councillor Cordy. Thank you. Okay. Sorry. All those in favour of that motion? Sorry. Thank you. Motion carried. We actually have no written questions. Are there any questions from the floor? No. Okay. Thank you. It's very unusual. Councillors, could I have a motion to resume standing orders, please? Councillor Henderson, that your motion is?
To resume standing orders.
Thank you. Second to Councillor Cordy. Thank you, Councillor. All those in favour? Motion carried. Thank you. Excellent. Okay, moving right along. Petitions and letters, 7.1, which is the speed limit. Councillors, could I have someone introduce this, please? Councillor Henderson, thank you.
Busy night for me tonight, Mayor.
Yep.
Okay, so last council meeting on the 16th of April, council received a petition signed by a lot of people. Here it is. About the speed limit along the section of the Pyrenees Highway approaching Chewton. And luckily, we had a motion in the agenda to deal with this at the same meeting. So it was very fortuitous or timely, may we say. So I take full responsibility for that along with our government. Thank you very much. So, and of course, our Director of Infrastructure and Development to help me craft it in correct terms. However, the point is that I move that council notes the petition received at the meeting of council, 16th of April 2024, and notes that the matters raised in the petition were dealt with at item 11.1, notice of motion 001/2024, request Department of Transport to review new speed limit on Pyrenees Highway, Tewton, of the meeting of council 16th of April 2024. And we write to the lead petitioner, advising them of the outcomes of the notice of motion. When it is known. Right, yes, good. So we're not just acknowledging we've received their petition, we're actually going to write and say, this is what the Department of Transport and Planning have said in return. So we eagerly await that, and I suppose I should put a question to the CEO at this point and ask if he's had a reply to his letter. Pardon, I beg your pardon, I have not had a second of the motion before launching into my
Yep.
debate on it.
That's all right. Thank you. Do I have a second of that motion? Councillor Neer, thank you. Yes, could you answer that question, please?
Sorry, would you mind just saying that again, Councillor Anderson?
All right, well, part 3 of the motion that's just been passed, thank you, Mayor, requires rights to the lead petitioner, advising them of the, and that would be Jill Maskell, writing of the outcome of the notice of motion 001/2024 when it is known. So I guess here we are a month later, and we know that Australia Post is a bit slow these days. I'm just wondering if you've received anything back from the Department of Transport and Planning yet.
No, we haven't, Councillor Henderson. We have written to the department as directed by the council resolution, but we're still awaiting a response. But we will make that known to you as soon as we get that.
Thank you. I think there are actually a lot of people waiting to hear this, and I do get stopped quite often and being asked, well, what's happening? When's it going to change? Of course, we don't know. We asked, because it's not our responsibility to impose the speed limit, we asked that the Department of Transport and Planning review the speed limit, particularly where it starts. And in fact, this petition does say that we want the speed limit on the Pyrenees Highway, Tewton, reinstated at 80 kilometres an hour past White Gum Track to Mitchell Street. The reasons being there was no community consultation, etc., etc. So they're not asking for a 60 kilometre an hour zone reinstated between Tewton and Castlemaine. They just want to not have it start at White Gum Track. And of course, same here. It's a silly place for it to start, and it just caused a lot of angst to drivers. And I'm rather tired of having someone sitting on my tail for most of the journey into Tewton these days. Anyway, so that's the petition. We've received it, and a lot of interest in the outcome. So we're waiting for that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Anir, do you want to speak to your motion? Or your seconder, please?
No, thank you, Mayor. I'm okay.
Any discussion? So we have a moved motion and a second. All those in favour of that motion? Okay, that motion's carried. Thank you very much. Now, I neglected to acknowledge the police who were here tonight, so I'm just doing that belatedly. I'm sorry, because they're now gone. Thank you.
And book people on the highway to here too.
Next item on the agenda is 7.2, which is another petition concerned with, sorry, can I have a councillor to introduce that, please?
Certainly, Mayor. So this petition is concerns the conditions of Sinclair Lane south of Lewis Road, Walmer, and Carbon Lane, Walmer. And council has received a petition on 3rd of April 2024 from residents with 17 signatures requesting that council review and rectify the condition of Sinclair's Lane and Carpenter's Lane, Walmer. And I would recommend as printed.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Cordy, thank you. Councillor Gardner, would you like to speak to your motion, please?
Yep, just that we've got a petition and it'd be good to have a look at it actually. And also I think it'd be good to get a response. I'm reasonably well aware of that lane and I'm not aware of any issues, but it'd be good to see what they are.
Thank you. Councillor Cordy, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just note that we've got 2 nice new graders and we've got another new one in transit on the way. So it'll be great to see them operating in Lewis Road and Carpenter's Lane, Walmer.
Thank you, councillor Cordy. Is there any discussion? No, okay, so we have a motion and we have a seconder. All those in favour of that motion? It's carried. Thank you. Thank you, councillors. Next item is item 8, which is committee reports, of which there is none. The next item on the agenda is officers' report, a 9.1 community. Could I please have a councillor introduce that, please? Councillor McClure, thank you.
Mayor, pleased to introduce this. The purpose of this report is to submit to council a report regarding the activities and performance of council's community asset committees as required under section 47 of the Local Government Act 2020, which is the Act. This report occurs annually. My apologies. This report occurs annually and is to be completed once community asset committees have had sufficient time to submit their required documentation for the previous financial year. And I'm pleased to recommend the motion that council notes the activity and performance of the council's community asset committees recorded during the 2022-2023 financial year.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a second of that motion, please? Councillor Cordy, thank you. Councillor McClure, would you like to discuss this motion?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, pleased to support this and want to thank our governance coordinator, Augustine Shepherd, for the great work that she does in managing these committees. They're a very important part of council operations. They do a great job. I think we would struggle to manage the reserve without the assistance of all these volunteers, most of them across the Shire. The council has 20 community asset committees that manage the assets on behalf of council. Each year, the community asset committees are required to complete an annual return, and they don't get their annual funds if they don't give the return or successful completion of the return. So they're in, but as I said before, the following committees, I want to name them because I think they're important: Barfold, Barringup Community Association, the Bill Woodford Recreation Reserve, the Camp Reserve, Campbells Creek Community Centre, Campbells Creek Recreation Reserve, the Castlemaine War Memorial Stadium, Elphinstone Facilities Hall, Guildford Hall, Guildford Recreation Reserve, John Power Reserve, Malden Community Centre, Metcalfe Hall, Muckleford Community Centre, Taradale Hall, Taradale Recreation Reserve, Wattle Flat Reserve, and the Wesley Hill Facility. Again, I say they're important facilities around the Shire. These committees do a great job in managing these facilities on behalf of the Shire, and I congratulate them for their work over the last 12 months or during that financial year. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Cordy, would you like to speak to your motion? No, speak to the motion.
Thanks, Mayor. I think Councillor McClure covered it.
Thank you. Other councillors? Any discussion? Okay.
Oh, I think we should just point out that completing or getting ticks in all the boxes here in this spreadsheet, it requires a fair bit of work on behalf of the committee, especially the office bearers. And so we should acknowledge that because they're doing it all on a voluntary basis. And they do get support from our governance team. They're able to come in for special evenings or afternoons for advice, and they're always at the other end of the phone with helpful advice there. But when it comes down to it, yes, they do have to send everything away. And yeah, so good on them. It's great that all but two are fully compliant again.
Thank you, councillor. Any other councillors? Councillor McClure, would you like a right of reply?
Good, thanks, Mayor.
Okay, thanks. We have a motion in place and we have a seconder. All those in favour of that motion? That motion's carried. Thank you, councillors. The next item on the agenda is the 9.1.2, the Castlemaine Safe Place Report, which Councillor Neer is just removing herself. She has a conflict here. Thank you. Councillors, could I have someone introduce this? Councillor Cordy, thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to provide an update to council on council's financial contribution made to Castlemaine Safe Space as part of the 23-24 financial year. As per the details there, Castlemaine Safe Space is a community-led, non-clinical, inclusive and comfortable drop-in centre for people and carers who are experiencing emotional distress or suicidal thoughts. And council contributed 30,000 to the group, and the group has provided details to council on what they were able to do with that. So I would move the recommendation as printed, that council notes the report is for information only and no decision is required. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there a seconder to that motion? Councillor Gardner? Councillor Cordy, would you like to speak to your motion?
Only to say that mental health is a serious problem in the community, and the stats would tell us there's one in 5 people have mental health issues in their lifetime. So really that means it touches everybody's family, and this is a very good organisation, and we wish them well going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Gardner, would you like to speak to the motion or reserve your right to speak?
Oh, just briefly, I think. So, I mean, obviously, I think Councillor Cordy has mentioned, I mean, council's only contributing $30,000, and in the report, we get a lot of return for that. And so I think it's a great initiative supporting some of our youth in town. And yeah, it's good to see.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there any discussion here, councillors? No? Okay. Councillor Cordy, would you like the right of reply?
I think we've covered it. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Councillor. So we have a motion and we have a second. All those in favour of that motion, please raise your hand. Thank you. The motion's carried. Thank you. If Councillor Neer could come back into the room, please. Thank you. Councillor, just to inform you that recommendation, that motion, which was that council notes this report for information, was approved. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is 9.2.1, which is the needle grass management. Can I have an introducer, please? Councillor Henderson, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this is two things really. First of all, it's an acknowledgement that among the noxious weeds that we have in this shire and on our own council controlled land, we have blackberries, we have the gorse, we have the usual suspects, and we have a particularly nasty one called Chilean needlegrass, Nacella niziana. It's a weed of national significance, and it is insidious in that it just looks like an ordinary grass, but it is very bad news for stock, and it's pretty uncomfortable for people who get the needlegrass stuck in their clothes or whatever, or kids. Not many people will be able to recognise it, but Margaret Panther, a local resident, has doggedly come to council submissions at budget time and pleaded, demanded, insisted that we come and put some money towards its eradication or its control. And this report is recognising Margaret's ongoing campaigning, and the fact that council now puts $10,000 a year into the budget ongoing to cover management of this on our land. So I'd like to move, if I may, that council notes the contribution of Margaret Panther in raising awareness of needlegrass and recognises the significant progress that her work in partnership with council and other local volunteers has achieved to date. And 2, notes the continued annual funding for needlegrass management will allow the ongoing reduction and eventual eradication of needlegrass from Castlemaine and the broader district.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Cordy, thank you. Is there any opposition to that motion? No, okay, thank you. Councillor Henderson, would you like to speak to your motion or reserve your right to speak?
Oh, I think it's worthwhile reading something from the report, actually, about
you.
this. So, Chilean needlegrass has been present in the Castlemaine area for several decades, and the lack of community awareness of the species and its biology has enabled its spread. With limited or sporadic direct action on both public and private land in the intervening period, Chilean needlegrass has become quite prolific in certain areas around the Shire, particularly on public land, which of course is often our responsibility. It has established along roadsides, often aided by mowing and slashing practices, spreading its seed to riparian areas where it's further spread along watercourses. At the same time, Chilean needlegrass has also become a serious invader of pasture and agriculture and other areas of private land, particularly on basaltic soils like that exist around Taradale and Elphinstone and other areas. Prevention and early intervention are the most cost-effective form of weed control. All control programs should aim to reduce seed produce, with prevention, early detection, the most cost-effective form of weed control, along with quarantine and good hygiene. The work undertaken by Margaret Panther of the Castlemaine Field Naturalist Club and other volunteers over several years has been crucial in identifying needlegrass outbreaks and undertaking on-ground removal in Castlemaine. Mapping of needlegrass locations has built a comprehensive picture of needlegrass across Castlemaine and assisted in controlling its spread into unaffected areas. We can all identify a blackberry bush, but it takes a particular botanist to be able to identify a needlegrass. Since Margaret's retirement, the Parks and Gardens team has continued her work as part of the Roadside Weed and Pest Management Program. The program is proving successful in Castlemaine, with known needlegrass populations decreasing in size. Hooray! As populations decrease, resources are being allocated to other areas where needlegrass is known to exist, such as in Muckleford and Elphinstone. Other confirmed outbreaks of needlegrass continue to be collated. These are often reported by the community, staff, or environmental contractors and are proving to be an effective way of maintaining the weeds control. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Cordy, would you like to speak to your motion or reserve your right to speak?
Thanks, Mayor. I'd just like to again acknowledge the contribution of Margaret Panther in bringing this weed to our attention, but also the work that she's done over decades. It's a huge amount of personal time and money that she's put into it. My background is I'm a farmer, and farming communities dealing with weeds all the time. But for people to undertake this sort of work over many years on a voluntary basis is a tremendous effort. So on behalf of council, I'd just like to acknowledge that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cordy. Other councillors, would you like to say anything? Councillor McClure.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, just first time I met Margaret Panther was up in the Botanical Gardens. I was walking through one morning and here's Margaret crawling around on her hands and knees, and I thought she was not well, and I went up and spoke to her, and that's what she was doing, was pulling out Chilean needlegrass by hand. So I couldn't believe the effort that she'd gone to. Amazing lady, and I want to acknowledge her work in this area. It's been brilliant. So thank you, Margaret. Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor. Any other councillors? Okay, so we have a motion in place and we have a second. All those in favour of that motion, please raise your hand. It's motion carried. Thank you, councillors. The next item on the agenda is item 9.3.1, which is the planning determination policy. Councillors, could I have a councillor introduce this, please?
Certainly, Mayor.
Thank you, councillor.
The purpose of this report is to seek adoption of the updated planning permit determinations by council policy. Council officers have analysed data on council's planning decisions over a 3-year period between November 2020 and December 2023. The data is presented to council to provide insights into the outcome of its current practice and to highlight areas for improvement in process and decision-making efficiency. The report recommends councils adopt an updated planning permit determination by council policy, updating triggers for council to formally consider planning applications and associated processes, which include removal of the trigger for council for determination for council for a commercial development from 1 million and increase the number of injections by which an application is required to be decided by council from 5 or more objections to 10 or more objections that remain unresolved. And I would recommend to my fellow councillors that we adopt this policy as printed.
Thank you, councillor Gardner. Do we have a second of that motion? Councillor McClure, thank you. Is there any opposition to this motion? No, okay, thank you.
Yeah, maybe I will. It's the purpose of debate, yes, okay.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to? Sorry, yep, councillor Gardner, thank you.
All right. Thank you. So obviously, planning is one of the major decisions that we as councillors make, and then this is sort of delegated down to our planning department to act on our behalf. Obviously, planning is one of those areas that has come under criticism. You hear quite often that, oh, you know, council's approval process is slowing down development, building of houses. So in that context, I suppose that as a council, I know that we continuously look at these sorts of policies to make sure that we're efficient and we're meeting targets, and that you know, we aren't holding up as much as possible. So part of that review, and have to acknowledge the working of the statutory planning unit, did a whole heap of number crunching, and there's so many different variants in terms of what it all means. And if people want to read it, for the public, it's available. But in the upshot of that, some of the major changes I think have been identified, and that one is to remove the dollar value of $1 million. Can't remember when that was set, but I think the last council it was there, probably been for a while. $1 million these days, particularly in a commercial environment, doesn't take long to get there. So it's probably a clause that's no longer required. The other area about increasing the number of objections, obviously we've had quite a bit of discussion and debate around that. And so 10 objectors unresolved seems to be a reasonable number, and it would also indicate there's a high level of community interest. And then the one that is not really being changed is a refusal must still come to council. And then whilst it's not in the policy, it's sort of councillors also have the right to pull them in for determination if we choose to. So I think it's a good policy. There's something going on there. Do you want me to put it in the policy or no?
Sorry, Mayor, just a clarification for councillors. It is included in the
Oh, is
policy.
it? I couldn't say
You
it.
have the ability to do
Yeah,
that.
I couldn't see it then when I quickly went through it. So we still have the ability to pull it in if we feel like it. So I do think this review and these changes do have a good balance between trying to be efficient, but also ensuring that councillors are accountable for their decisions, which is, you know, it's a core thing of being a councillor. So yeah, I would hope that fellow councillors will support it.
So do I have a mover of a motion? Right, you moved it, did you, Stephen? Okay.
Sorry,
so
as printed. Is it
Okay.
one of those nights, is it?
Thank you. Councillor McClure, you've already done that. Yes, Councillor, you have a right to reply. Right to speak to the motion, Councillor McClure.
Happy to support Councillor Gardner's motion. I found this a fantastic report, really interesting. I mean, planning is a big part of our operations in council, and the work we do as councillors is probably one of the most challenging areas in council. But some of the numbers in this amazing. 13. This was the data was analysed over a 3-year period, from November 2020 to December 23, which they looked at 1,349 applications, and only 50 of those came to council. So that means, you know, nearly 1,300 planning applications went through council that staff managed and made some great decisions. and it didn't come to council. I think that's a pretty good statistic standing on its own. But, you know, some of the other statistics that really impressed me was the amount of decisions that came to council where there was no change was about 74%. And the ones that we disagreed with, the officer recommendation, were only 20%. So most of the time the council's officers got it right, and council disagreed only 20% of the time. So I think it sort of sets the tone that the planning staff in this organisation are doing a pretty good job in assessing our planning application. It gives me a lot of confidence that we're doing something right. So it's a great report, and I really enjoyed reading it, and I'll recommend it to fellow councillors to support this policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McClure. Councillor Henderson.
Look, it's hard to you know, to make a bit of a noise against this policy, and that's because we have some bloody good staff in planning at the moment, statutory planning, and we have a lot of respect for them. And I think the amount of work and the quality of their work they've done is it's got to be the best I've ever seen in my 16 years on council. But here's the but. Policies can't be attached to personalities or particular. And although I'd like to think that this council will continue to attract and retain high caliber staff in all areas of its work from here onwards, it can't guarantee that. And so I'm glad that we are holding on to the what am I thinking about? I'm thinking about the people's right to have a public hearing, to be heard by an applicant is able to be heard if they've got an issue, like if the planning department is seeking to refuse their application, or if an objector to an application is seeking to be heard, then they can be heard by councillors at the moment. If the officers are recommending refusal, then automatically it becomes a matter for an applicant objector or being heard at a council by all councillors in a forum, particularly where they can put their case. And I think that's good, because the officers must present their decision to all councillors in a report, which takes a lot of time and effort to write, but it sets out all their arguments in planning, and it's our job to understand it and see if we agree. If there are a number of objectors, then I think it's important that councillors hear the objections and consider them and see what maybe the officers are saying in response to those objections, and hear them in not a public forum, but in a forum set up for all the parties involved. Now, we don't hear every time where there's objectors. It used to be Councillor Cordy or maybe Gardner. Can you remember, was it 2 or more? 3, right. And then we agreed to put it up to 5. Set the bar a little bit higher. Fair enough. Now, in a town area or relatively high population, if we can talk about high population density in our shire, if there's a controversial planning application, it's not hard to get 5 objectors. If you happen to be down at Back Lane in Elphinstone or Metcalfe or Walmer or something, and you see an application going up that's really going to impact on you as the next door neighbour or whatever, you might not be able to find another, 4, now 9 objectors to also say, look, this isn't good because, and sometimes it's just NIMBY, not in my backyard, but sometimes there are issues that you really want to try and highlight. So I'm just a bit concerned about the need to have 10 objectors before it becomes a council matter. That's my main beef. And as I say, in the current regime with the current staff, I'm pretty comfortable. But this is a policy, and once we go up to 10, it ain't going to come back to 5. It will not return to 5. Okay, that's a legacy we hand on to future councillors. That's my only concern. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Henderson. Other councillors?
For
Councillor
or
Court?
against, though?
That's all right. Well, I haven't called for the vote yet, councillor. Councillor Cordy?
Thanks, Mayor. Look, couple of points I'd note. It is important that we have these policy settings right. It's a very, very important function of council. I'll just note that the policy is due for review, so it has to be done. It's already been mentioned that refusals will still come to council, and from my perspective, I think it's very, very important that these are in the public domain. So that's still going to happen. I'd also like to acknowledge the work of our skilled planning team that sits under our director Ania. They're doing a great job, and it's great to see the efforts that the team are making on progressing. There's a high number of planning applications before council all the time, and I'd really appreciate the work of our planning teams, and thanks for the details in the report, because it helps councillors understand just how the policy settings are exactly working. So well done, planners. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Cordy. Any other councillors like to speak to this motion? Councillor Neer?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to get in as well. I think it's a fantastic report. It's really done a lot to reassure me that our decision-making process is pretty sound. I think when you really comprehend the amount of matters that come through to council compared to the number that are dealt with under delegation, it's such a small amount of the entirety, only 3.7%. So of that 1,349, we only saw 50. But reading back through this report and looking at especially some of the ones where we either overturned or went against an officer recommendation or proceeded to VCAT, you know, I lost sleep over these matters. These are the big ticket items, and I know members of the community would have been losing sleep about them too, because yeah, if there's one thing I've learnt from almost 4 years on council, it's that these planning matters, while, you know, we can sit around the table and you know, look at all the designs and read the reports and stuff, for the people who are going to be you know, intimately affected by these things by living in proximity, it's a really big deal. And I really value that both objectors and supporters and the applicant are able to come to an applicant objector supporter meeting and talk to us and you know, tell us their concerns, and we're able to ask questions and stuff. That being said, I think raising the number of objectors from 5 to 10 is not such a bad thing. I think often we will see a planning matter that has, you know, very, very little objection in the grand scheme of things in a shire of almost 21,000 people. And from memory and from this report, those bigger items that garnered, you know, many, many, many objections, we will still be seeing those no matter what. Also picking up on what Councillor Gardner said about the ability of all councillors with support of another councillor to always be able to call in a matter if we want. That won't change. That is something that we need to be able to do, because sometimes we're tapped into things in the community, and we just need to, you know, we need to see them ourselves. I think the other bit that I found really, really interesting in this report, and I guess supports me to kind of with raising the number of objectors as well, is that efficiency that Councillor McClure talked about, because I'm just trying to find the table now, but the amount of time is a really big deal for a lot of people. You know, it can be months and years getting planning to where you need it to be, and back and forth, and trying to meet all requirements, especially if there's funny zoning or overlays. But when a council permit proceeds to council rather than being dealt with under delegation, it takes a lot longer. There is a whole process that needs to happen for it to reach us. I'm sorry, I've got a bit of a cough. There is a whole bit here, which I was going to read, but I don't have the voice for, about really what has to happen for a decision to come through to us at council. And it involves hours and hours and hours of officer time, and then our time as well. It is a much, much lengthier process. So I'm really supportive of, of course, there'll always be the ability to call things in, but if we don't need to see it, I don't think we need to see it, and I need to stop talking now. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor Lanier. Councillor Gardner, would you like to avail yourself for the right of reply?
Sure, why not? I'll avail myself. I think really, I mean, obviously, Councillor Henderson, we had discussed a lot of this in briefing, of course, and we'd probably gone through a lot of these issues. And in some instance, I share your view, particularly probably for smaller towns who it is a lot harder to get 10 people to object in a small town than it is, say, in Castlemaine. But I suppose I'm comforted by the fact that we as councillors still have the right to call that in. And that has been the case for a while now. So if there is someone who is objecting to a particular planning matter, and they can't get the 10, the magic number 10, reach out to local council and talk to them, and they might be able to just have a chat about it. Oh, Darren's saying something. What am I saying wrong? Oh, so that's it. I think it does have a balance between efficiency, trying to get these things done, and having the community the opportunity to have their voice as well. So yeah. And we've lost Rosie, so that's keep talking. Well, what else can I say?
Another debate. I just want to say something at this point, because Councillor Gardner has referred to the fact that if people are unable to have problems, they're being told they've got problems with their. What I'm trying to say is a lot of members of the public don't know they can contact their councillor in regard to a planning permit application. They think that they're not allowed to. And that's absolutely not the case. And so maybe that's something that we need to ask the planning department to make aware of. If someone's objecting to planning application, they can talk to their councillor about it. Likewise, somebody who's got an application in can talk to their councillor about it. We just can't have any influence on the planners. But we can talk to them about it.
I think that's a good point, because I get approached, obviously. Sorry, I'm just talking now. Do I need to fill in more? Because my response has always been, well, no, I can't particularly. I can help you through the process. I can give you some advice, but I obviously can't give you any advice. And it's really against the law to actually have an opinion on that particular matter until all the Big Four comes to council. So now I can stop talking. Rosie's back.
Thanks, councillor. Thanks, councillor Gardner. So, councillors, we have a motion in front of us, and that is that council 1 notes the analysis on the 50 planning permit applications presented to council for decision, and 2 adopts the updated planning permit determinations by council policy. We have that motion, and we have a seconder. All those in favour of that motion, please raise your hand. Okay, thank you. That motion was passed unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, councillors.
So in order to, sorry, Matt, in order to record it as passed unanimously, do we need to call for a division?
No, you don't, but if you'd like to, you can.
I think we need to record an unanimous.
So that's a request for a
division.
Division, no problem.
Crazy.
So we have a motion. That motion, as I read out before, is in place. All those in favour of that motion, please raise your hand. That's 4. Councillor Gardner, Councillor Cordy, Councillor Neer, Councillor McClure, Councillor Henderson, and Councillor Driscoll, and no one's against it. Thank you. Thanks, councillors. Next item is 9.3.2, which is the 2023 to 2024 financial report for Q3. Could I have someone introduce that, please?
Yep, I think that's me.
Thanks, councillor.
Sorry, let me just find it on my computer because I go paperless. Good on me. So the purpose of this report is to present the finance report for the 9 months ending 31st of March 2024. And this report will be presented to the Audit and Risk Committee on 31st of May 2024. And I would recommend as printed.
Thank you, councillor. So let's move it. Do we have a seconder for that? Sorry, councillor Cordy, thank you. Is there any objections to this motion? Okay, no. Councillor Gardner, would you like to speak to your motion? Or, no, you can't reserve your right. Please speak to
Yes.
your motion.
So obviously this is the financial report for the period of 1st July 2023, March 31st March 2024. So obviously some of the headlines, obviously we actually have a surplus at this point, but obviously that will change when we start to spend money. I mean, I think really overall for a council of our size, and two, sort of the periods we've been through, COVID, then inflation and all sorts of things. I think we as a council have done really well to keep financially our council on track. And obviously, I'm very aware a number of councils around us and all across the state are really having serious financial issues, whereas we're probably not in that boat as yet. And you'll see this whole heap of list of works, so I'm not really going to go through that, but it's a good report. We're doing well, and I think also it's a testament to our finance team, who is this sort of stuff is never ending for them. They have to do a budget, then it's audit, then it's reporting. So the support we get from them is really great too. So I would commend the report to all my councillors.
Thank you, councillor Gardner. Councillor Cordy, would you like to speak to the motion or reserve your right?
Reserve my right. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, councillor. Other councillors like to speak to this motion? No. Yep. You wish to say something?
No,
No.
well,
Okay,
no, I
no worries.
just wanted to point out, actually, looking at grants, the grants, looking at the notes on the P&L, the income statement in this, it's just worthy noting the remarkable number of grants, but also the different categories of grants that we now seem to deal with unbudgeted grants recognised, and increased grant funding received, budgeting funding received, budgeted funding not yet received, budgeted grants not yet received. It goes on and on. So the complexity of it used to just be operating grants, capital grants. Now it's a lot more complicated. And I do note the materials and services, yes, extra costs and disposal of property. Not quite as what we thought we were going to get for our second-hand goods. We obviously took them to the wrong clearing sale, but we have to get the CEO to organise a better clearing sale in future. But apart from that, yes, we seem to be tracking along, and Councillor Cordy will be worried about the fact that we haven't spent enough money, but hopefully by the end of the financial year, we'll have caught up. That's all.
Thank you, councillor. Other councillors like to say anything? No, thank you. Councillor Cordy, you reserved your right to speak. Speak.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm glad Councillor Henderson brought up the grants. That we've got a fantastic team working on getting out and getting grants. We don't want to overstate it though. We need more grants to keep us going. So keep up the good work, grants team, and the executive oversee everything. Just in relation to this report, I see in the report that there's no alternate options. The finance report must be presented on a quarterly basis under the Act. So, yeah, well done, everybody. And look, we're tracking very well financially year to date, and I'm sure we're going to come in right on target or a slight surplus. So that's going to be a fantastic achievement for our team. So well done, all concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cordy. Councillor Gardner?
No, I have nothing else to say.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, we have a motion in place with a seconder. All those in favour of that motion, please raise your hand. That motion's carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item 9.3.3, which is the 2023-2024 Annual Plan Progress Report. for quarter three, which is the March 2024. Could I have a councillor introduce that, please? Councillor Henderson. Thanks, councillor.
Fight you for it, Councillor Cordy. Well, this is our quarter three annual progress report on the annual report. Let me get myself sorted out. It's a quarter three report, progress report on the annual plan 2023-2024, which is the third year of our 4-year council plan. Yes, and it reports an update on the status and progress. And I'd like to move that council notes the annual plan progress report 2023-2024 quarter three.
Thank you, councillor Henderson. Do I have a second for that? Councillor Cordy. Thank you. Is there any opposition to this motion? Okay, no, thank you. Councillor Henderson, would you like to speak to your motion, please?
Yes, Mayor. It's always good to see this. Of course, because of reporting requirements and difficult waiting, the inevitable lag time, we are now sitting here in May reading this, well, 2 months on, but that's the natural way of things. We have it with the finance report, we have it with the annual plan report. And so in a way, it's nice to look through it and go, well, we've done a lot, we being the staff, but guess what? We've done even more. And we're probably going to see a pretty good result by the end of the financial year, end of quarter four. We've got 20 current projects in this, and it looks like at least half of them being completed already. And there's hardly anything that's sitting, hardly started. The levy improvements, it's a multi-year project, so I wouldn't expect to see that finished. I got a nasty feeling that when we finally start building levies, we're going to go in for a really major drought period, but that's just I won't tempt fate by saying that too much. I would like to ask Director Anir about I beg your pardon, Director Knight, about a couple of things. One is the Chewton community-based bushfire management project, which I know involves members of the Chewton Bushlands area. And I know it's been a delay to a certain extent, but also I'd like to know what the expected completion date would be on that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson, and thank you for your ongoing interest in emergency management. There is reference there to a project that's being undertaken with the University of Sydney and the RMIT project, and that's certainly something that we've had deputations on before. So the Phoenix fire modelling, what that comment's particularly referring to is that discussions are continuing regarding that fire simulation modelling, which is that Project Phoenix, and that modelling looks at predicting potential progression of fire across a virtual landscape under different weather conditions and fire suppression scenarios. So our emergency management team continue to be in discussions with the University of Sydney and RMIT, and in response to that, are looking to conduct forums later in the year across the Shire, including Chewton. So actually something that we've done in the past, bringing those community groups in and actually looking at that simulation and that fire modelling and what it would look like in Chewton under, as I said, under those weather conditions and those fire suppression scenarios. So though this particular item for this annual plan's on track, those sessions are planned for roughly October through to December, prior to what was summer and fire preparedness season as well. But certainly looking to raise awareness and educate community on fire suppression modelling. So has that answered your question, Councillor?
Oh, more than answered it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Director.
Thank you, Director.
Sorry, I've done it again. Sorry, Director. So rarely do we ask you questions in meetings, council meetings. It's usually. So thank you very much. That's really exciting because it's pretty sophisticated software, and I know that the Chewton Bushlands area is a particularly fire vulnerable area, but so are a lot of other areas in our Shire, and that will hopefully provide wake-up calls to a lot of us in rural and semi-rural areas as to just how we have to approach what used to be called summer, as you say, now called the bushfire season. Thank you. And apart from that, there are a few other exciting things. Sad to see that the Frederick Street, well, no, sad and exciting, I suppose. Frederick Street, we had high hopes originally that Frederick Street was going to be turned into a beautiful walk shared driveway with completely revamped footpaths and at level driving. But of course, the costs just mushroomed and the money didn't. And it became pretty low on our priorities compared to a whole lot of other things. But I can see we've done some pretty good patching up work of the ceiling of the bottom half of Frederick Street, and we'll all continue to manage our progress down the narrow footpath in the way we have done for decades, and if not millennia. And we might even get a grant to carry out the envisioned works on the whole of Frederick Street, which will be very exciting. So apart from that, and of course, things like the Taradale Youth Space, yes, magnificent, wonderful. The future of playgrounds, I think, must have to include youth spaces with hard services for those poor country kids. And at Norwood Hill, the other one, great place. So, and I see the Vaughan to Realtor low-level bridge is progressing. May I ask the director in here the story, this week's story on it? It's getting exciting.
Director Anir, you okay to answer that?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Mayor. I'm really happy to share that since the report was prepared, progress has definitely been made. We have received the minor works permission from Parks Victoria with the help of a very generous member from Parks Victoria to get it through their internal system in record time, but it did seem a long time for us. So thank you to our colleague in Parks Victoria. I do foresee that we will be mobilising Insight within the next month or so. So we will be able to commence the work before the end of the financial year as set out in the annual plan. Councillor Anderson.
That is so exciting. Thank you very much, Director Anir. Thank you. That's really my walk through the annual plan progress report, which is.
So can I call for a motion, please?
That we noted the annual plan progress report. I didn't move it before. I think it got.
Okay,
who's
it
seconded?
hasn't been seconded yet, though.
Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor.
Cool.
Councillor Cordy.
Mm.
Councillor Henderson. Sorry, is there any opposition to that? Councillor Henderson, would you like to speak to your motion?
I think I have.
Well, that's what she was doing.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's a great report. It's an important one to have. And it's great to see the work of our staff progressing the way it does. And we preside over it and take all the credit when it's good and point fingers elsewhere when it's bad. So there we go.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Cordy, would you like to speak to your motion and reserve your right to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, it's a great report, and there's good progress being made right across all divisions of council. And yeah, I'd congratulate everyone that's making a contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Other councillors would like to say anything? Councillor McClure.
Mayor, just a couple that I've particularly noted. Good to see there's some progress on the affordable housing situation. And we're progressing. I'd be interested down the track, not tonight, to hear a little bit more about how we're going with the Templeton Street development with Hovan Home Safe, and the Wintringham housing sites in Malton and Newstead, but that's for another time. So it's good to see that they're ongoing, because the amount of press that's going around at the moment with the situation with the affordability of housing and not enough of it is a serious problem, not only here, but right across the country. The other one is I understand we're going to see shortly the industrial land review coming to council in the next month or two. So it's good to see that that's being worked on too. So yeah, no, good report, and congratulations to the staff for progressing all these matters. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McClure. Other councillors? Councillor Gardner.
Just a couple of brief comments. It's good to see a number of 100% going down there. I did notice the Bill Woolful were at 40%, but I was there on the weekend, so I'm reasonably confident that's going to happen. And Footy's Gap at 98%, which I'm sure you'll make up that 2% in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you, councillors. Other councillors? Now, Councillor Henderson, you have a right to reply.
All that can be said is it's quite humbling really to note all the work that's being done by this organisation. I mean, this is only 20 items which we pick because they're not business as usual, if you like. They are particular things. So meanwhile, everything else is going along as well. And it's just a very great honour to be part of such an organisation.
Thank you, councillor. Councillors, we have a motion which is that council notes the annual plan progress report 2023 to 2024, quarter 3. All those in favour of that motion, please raise your hand. That motion's carried. Thank you. Thank you, councillors, and thank you for your discussion. Next item on the agenda is item 9.3.4, which is awarding of a contract M1770, the 2024 provision of meals for delivered meals services. Could I have someone introduce that, please? Councillor Henderson, you're on fire. Thank you.
Why not? Yes. So the purpose of this report is to present to council the outcome of the public tender for the contract for the provision of meals for delivered meals services. 2 tenders were received by the closing date, 23rd of Feb, 2024, 2 p.m. Tenders were evaluated using predetermined evaluation criteria and weightings. The evaluation panel recommend awarding the contract to Delkaya Health.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Neer, thank you. Is there any opposition to this motion? Okay, thank you. Councillor Henderson, you have the right to speak to the motion, please.
Thank you. Well, it's for an initial 3-year period, an option to extend for additional 1 by 2-year extension, for an estimated contract value of 1.1 million, plus or minus a few dollars. And it's very exciting that we are actually in this position where we have tendered for and awarded a tender, or are awarding tonight, to Delkaya for delivered meals. We are in the business of providing home-based aged care into the future, and this is one of our key services, much valued by people. And having been an occasional customer of Delkaya Health due to unfortunate accidents, I can say that the food's rather good. So hopefully the delivered meals will be just as good as the stuff you get in the hospital. Congratulations. I mean, that's a flippant thing to say, but this is really special. Yeah, that we're doing this, and maybe first of many such decisions of council to support our ongoing home-based aged care. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Neer, you have your right. Do you like to speak to the motion or reserve your right?
I'll try and speak.
Okay.
Really agreeing with Councillor Henderson that it's a real privilege that we have made the decisions we have to be in a position where we're still able to deliver meal services to people who need them. I think it's just such a fantastic thing to be able to provide with, and not just for older people, although a lot of our clients are older people. I just know how much it means to have something like that taken care of for you. And I think it's been on my mind a bit. I've been recently, over the last couple of days, supporting my gran. I'm very lucky that I still have a grandma who's alive, who's 91, and she's hurt her hand. And because she's a walker and a scooter user, because she can't put any weight on anything, she can't get around at all. And just her limitedness is really upsetting for her and for all of us. And she doesn't live in our shire, but she before the shire that she lived in got rid of their aged care services. They were a thing that provided her company, food, help around the house, dignity. It's just such a beautiful thing that we're able to provide to our older residents and our younger residents who need that help. I note in this report that there's been a real increase in eligible residents requiring these delivered meals over the last 12 months, to the point that the service provision has doubled since early 2023. That means a really big thing. That means that this service may continue to grow, and the fact that we are in a position, with our Dalkaya Health, where we're able to work together to provide these meals, I think that's really special. So I'm really, really happy to be here with this report in front of us.
Thank you, Councillor Neer. Godspeed for your grand to get better too. Other councillors? Councillor Cordy?
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, I think it's a great outcome, and I think it's very important that councils work so closely with Dalkaya Health. It's a great organisation and very valued in the community, and council and the hospital working together doesn't get much better than that. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Cordy. Any other councillors? Councillor Neer, you have the right of reply. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Councillor Henderson. Thank you.
No, it's all right. No, thank you.
Okay, sorry. All right. Thank you. Okay, we have a motion in front of us. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. Okay, that motion's carried. Thank you. Thank you for that discussion again, councillors. The next item on our list, on our agenda rather, is 9.3.5, which is the risk management policy and risk management framework. Could I have someone introduce that, please?
That would be me, Mayor.
Thanks, councillor.
So this report seeks council adoption of the updated risk management policy and risk management framework, and I recommend councillors adopt it as printed.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a second to that? Councillor Cordy? Thank you. Councillor Gardner, would you like to speak to your motion, please?
Yes, it has been a long day, so I won't go over. Risk management, like I know that it's not seen as particularly exciting, but it is actually an essential part of how this council operates and do business. And I have to acknowledge Leanne in particular, the policies and risks has sort of been going for a while, and it's we've managed to pull it together. And this is another review. Obviously, the risk management policy goes through a number of processes before it comes to us. So it's done all that. And I mean, the framework's there, the policy's there if people want to get into it. It's a good, robust framework. It's been through the risk committee. It meets the standards, and it's good that council's going to adopt the revised policy.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Cordy, would you like to speak to the motion or reserve your right?
Thanks, Mayor. I will speak just to acknowledge Manager Governance and Risk, Leanne Brown, but also our newly recruited Coordinator Risk and Insurance, Cameron Whitehead. Looks like we're going to be doing a great job in that area going forward. Very important. And I'd also like to acknowledge the work of the Audit and Risk Committee, which is an external committee with specialist skills in risk management and audit, and very important, that group. So well done all. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Other councillors like to speak to this motion at all? No, okay. Thank you, Councillor Gardner. You have the right to reply.
No, it's all good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, councillor. Councillors, we have a motion in front of us which is that Council 1 adopts the risk management policy and 2 notes the risk management framework. All those in favour of that motion, please raise your hand. Thank you, councillors. That motion was carried. Thank you. Next item is item 9.3.6, which is the Audit and Risk Committee biannual report from the 1st of July 2023 to the 31st of December 2024. Could I have someone introduce that, please? Councillor Cordy, thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. I shouldn't have spoken about them in the last item, but anyway, this report provides a summary of work undertaken by Council's Audit and Risk Committee for the period 1st of July 2023 to 31st December 2023, and I would move the recommendation as printed. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a second to that motion? Councillor McClure, thank you. Councillor Cordy, would you like to speak to your motion, please?
Yeah, just briefly, Mayor. Look, the Audit and Risk Committee do a fantastic job, very experienced and knowledgeable people. We've got a couple of new people coming in there, and yeah, they do great work. It's a very comprehensive report, and their service is extremely valued by council. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Cordy. Councillor McClure? No. Councillors, anybody would like to discuss this? Say something? No, thank you. Councillors, we have a motion in front of us. All those in favour of that motion, please raise your hand. Thank you. That motion's carried also. Thank you, councillors. The next item on the agenda is 9.3.7, which is the approval of leave for the CEO from the 28th of June 2024 to the 1st of August 2024. Do we have a mover of that motion or not? Councillor Henderson? Yes. Do we have a seconder of that motion? Councillor McClure. Okay, thank you. Councillor Henderson, would you like to speak to that motion, please?
Well, I better read the motion. I think it's worth reading because the CEO wants to nick off on holiday, but we need a CEO. So the motion is that council approves annual leave for the CEO for the period 5 p.m. on Friday, 28th of June to 5 p.m. on Thursday, the 1st of August, 2024, inclusive. Appoints Lisa Knight, Director, Corporate and Community Services, Acting Chief Executive Officer for the period, the same period, inclusive, and includes the following limitations on the delegations of Lisa Knight as Acting CEO. No approval of changes to the organisational structure. I'm sure. No approval of new permanent positions. No rebanding of current positions, and no changes to senior managers' contracts other than increments in line with the current enterprise agreement increments, so they fall due on the period. Well, I'm sorry, Lisa, we're restraining you from all those things you're planning to do, but that's what's in the motion. So I'd like to move that. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Cordy. Sorry, Councillor McClure. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Everybody needs a break from, and I'm sure the CEO deserves one more than any of us at the moment. So I fully support it. And we all need a good break.
Thank you. Other councillors?
Well, I didn't actually get to speak to my motion. I just moved the motion. Sorry. No.
Okay, go
I
speak
just
to it.
want to
Sorry.
say that I think it's really good that the CEO is taking a decent break. You know, he works pretty hard and long and does a great job. And I think it's excellent that he's taking himself off, significant break away from the place, and also that we're having Lisa Knight to run the place in his stead. I think that's, I know that Director Anir did it last time, I think. And he's, don't think he's fighting for the job again. It's a very hard gig, but we know that that Director Knight is certainly a more than capable person. It'd be great to have her leadership for the time while the CEO is away. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor. Councillor McClure. No other councillors?
I just wanted to no, Darren, it's good earned rest, and I think obviously we as councillors have confidence that Darren go on holiday and executive teams will carry on. And I'm not asking for a response on this, Darren, but didn't you have an extra day's leave or something to take it to the Friday?
Thank you. Other councillors? No?
5 o'clock on a Thursday.
Councillor Henderson, do you have a right to reply?
Yeah, I did wonder about the Friday, but you know, you've got to come back and find out, and then have a weekend to sort of recover before you walk in on the Monday morning. Walking in on a Monday morning after a significant break is not a good idea. You should know that. Councillor Gardner. So good strategy. No, I think it's good. It's all good. Thank you.
So thank you, CEO. Have a safe trip. Look after yourself. Item 10 is delegation reports. We have one from myself and one from the CEO. Any other councillors like to say a delegator's report? Okay, Councillor Cordy, hang on a sec. I'll let you go first. Yeah, you go first. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a couple of items. On Friday, I attended the Municipal Association Victoria State Council meeting. Representatives from 79 councils, all the councils in the state invited. Probably a couple of noteworthy things. Sally Capp, the Lord Mayor of Melbourne, addressed the meeting. It was great to hear her speak and see her perform. She's very well respected in the community and done a great job in Melbourne. That was followed by the President of the Association, David Clark's report, covered all the finances. And then there were approximately, the format of the meeting is approximately 70 matters of voted on by members, and very interesting, and lots of things of common interest to councils, and a couple of those, they include the obvious ones like more funding for roads, cost shifting with other levels of government, pushing more things onto local government, those types of things. But look, it's a real honour to represent council at Municipal Association, and I'd also like to acknowledge that the CEO attended. It's the one time when councillors get a vote and the CEO doesn't get one, so it was pretty good. But it's great that the CEO comes to those events, because they're fantastic networking opportunities. The other one I'll just mention briefly, Mayor, is this is an upcoming event, but a little bit of advertising. The Mount Alexander Sustainability Group is having a soil health workshop in conjunction with Bill Grant from Federation University, and that's on Wednesday week. And it'll be starting off at Castlemaine. There's a free lunch, so everyone roll up. That'll be good. And but then it's followed by an on-site visit to a very, very nice property at Woodbrook. So that'll be great, I'm sure. Thanks for that, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other councillors like to delegate? Councillor Neer.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to mention that I had the honour to fill in for you while you were busy and officiate our citizenship ceremony a couple of weeks ago. It was very special. I think they're always incredible. Every time I've gotten to either be at one or perform one, I've just kind of thought, wow, this is not something I ever thought I'd be doing. What an incredible thing to be part of someone's journey to become Australian and Australian and part of our community. And I think, they're very special. The way we do them with our involvement of Uncle Rick, and there's always beautiful plants that are given out. It was really, really special. I think it was particularly special because it was the first time that I had officiated one alongside Director Knight. And that was a really nice thing to do, to just shake things up a bit. And it's just always so lovely to hang around a bit afterwards and take photos with people and really chat to them about their journeys and how they ended up here, because we have people from all over the world living in our shire. It's very, very incredible, and was a really special to be a part of, as always.
Thank you, Councillor. Other councillors? CEO, might pass to you the delegates report, if that's okay.
Thanks very much, Mayor. And thanks very much all councillors for letting me have a holiday too. I very much appreciate that. Thank you. And also thank you to Director Knight, who agreed, I think you agreed, Director, to fill in while I'm away. As you know, we are incredibly lucky to have two directors of so much capability that I can go away and have a real holiday and know that the organisation will be led beautifully by either of those directors. So thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Michael, as well. The day, the day is actually related to, I have another commitment on the Board of Rural Councils Victoria on that Friday. I'm coming back to attend that commitment. Councillor, just so that you know.
didn't have to.
it's one of those nice commitments to meet, I must say. But that's why I'm coming back on that Friday. As a board member, I should be there. So as per the report, our usual report, Mayor, you can see that we have had quite a few meetings with potential councillor candidates. I think the number's around 10 now of between ourselves, and I think Deputy Mayor Anir might have had one or two formal ones, and I don't know how many informal ones, but one or two formal ones as well. So there has been a really good response to that initiative, and I think that they've been beneficial to people who've come and spoken to us so far. So we are still offering that opportunity to come and have a chat with any of us about what's the business of council about, how do things work, what's the workload like, who does what, why does that happen that way, all of those things, anything else people want to know about. So we'll keep doing that, we'll keep promoting that, Mayor, and keep making ourselves available, I'm sure, for more people to come and have a chat with us. The other one that I want to mention on the list was, and pretty timely, you've spoken eloquently tonight about two examples of huge volunteer efforts in our community, one individual in Margaret Panther, but also the countless volunteer groups who look after so many community assets for us and for the community. Without them, those assets wouldn't be operating. I am quite sure of that. What was lovely was Director Knight's group organised because we are in Volunteer Week, organised a great celebration down at the market building the other day that you and I attended, Mayor, and which you spoke at. We had volunteers from the aged care services, volunteers from the visitor information centres, and also we had quite a few of the youth group volunteers there as well. And it was just a lovely celebration of the contribution that they make there as well. So again, big thank you from all of us in the organisation to all of our volunteers as well, because there's no way we could do what our community needs from us without their help, and we are very grateful for that. I think that'll do, me.
Okay, CEO, thank you. Just a couple. I attended the dawn service in Malden and the 11 o'clock service, as did Councillor Gardner at Layer Reith, so thank you for that. And I had an Indigenous roundtable meeting, which is a really good thing to have, and it's very unique to us, so that's really important. We head into Reconciliation Week next week. Also, I'd just like to quickly thank the CEO of Nalderun who's helping me write the National Sorry Day speech, which is next Sunday, which is in the Botanical Gardens. If people can be there, that would be a good thing. I met with Newstead 2021, which is about to be Newstead 2050, and they're a really good group. And councillors, you might want to consider in your areas, because they do a lot of the groundwork in terms of what that particular area would like. And so they met myself and Director Anir, and they had canvassed their community, and they sort of presented to us the top 6 sort of projects that they have in the future, which they'd like to do in the future. So it just makes our work getting out to see people in terms of what the community wants a lot easier. So that's a wonderful thing to do. I attended a student ideas pitch here in the chamber, which was fantastic. There was half a dozen schools. I sat up here in my robe and things, and they pitched me for a minute of community things. These are kids in grade 5 and 6, I think they were. They did a really good job, so it was wonderful. There was about 45, 50 kids. They did a great job. They were engaged. So, which is fantastic. So that was a really good thing that I attended. And also tomorrow is the simultaneous reading in the library, which I have a pleasure to do. So I'll be reading a book tomorrow in the library at 12 o'clock, and it's a national run thing. So there's a whole bunch of people who's reading this particular book, with 50 kids there tomorrow. So it's going to be fantastic. So
have you been practicing?
Yeah, Bowerbird. It's a great little book, and it's I did read it. Thank you. So I didn't want any hiccups. So tomorrow, if you've got nothing to do, go to the library and hear my me reading the book, which is fantastic. Yeah, so I know Rosie did it last time and she thoroughly enjoyed it twice. Good on you. So this is my first time, so I'm going to enjoy that. So I think that's about all I've got. Any other delegates report while I've got the mic? No. Thank you.
Sorry, Mayor. I
Yes.
just thought, you reminded me when you were talking about Reconciliation Week.
Yes.
And is it correct that the Sorry Day not celebration, commemoration is on Sunday
Yes. And it's
at the Botanical
at the Botanical
Gardens?
Garden, and it
Yeah.
opens up on 10 o'clock in the market building on Monday.
Yeah, that's the start of Reconciliation Week.
Correct. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yep.
And it's
Great,
going to
thank
be
you.
really big on Monday because Ron Murray is interviewing Nikki
The Wizard.
Whitmer
Yep.
about his latest book. So I would warn the people setting up that there might be quite a bit of space. That's going to attract quite a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Thank you for those reminders. Thank you. Anything?
Can I just, on the back of that again,
Absolutely.
just say alongside your speech, and I think Ron Murray may be speaking at Sorry Day as well. I know a number of the schools are sending representatives to speak as well. And that's going to be really, really exciting because I think this is a relatively new thing that we've started including with Sorry Day, the voices of young people. And I just think, sometimes they are able to cut to the point a lot easier than we can. We use a lot of words to say a lot of things, but I know from memory last year, the young people's speeches just got right to the heart of it. And I'm really excited for that as well.
And my understanding is a young Anir is speaking. Is that correct?
She's actually an Anir Foster, so she's not a true Anir, but yes.
Okay. Excellent. Funny. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Item 11, notice of motion, which there is nil. Item 12, urgent special business, nil. Item 13, we have confidential items. So these reports are confidential in accordance with section 66(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020, which permits the meeting to be closed to consider confidential information. Could I have a mover of that, please? Councillor McClure.
Mayor, pleased to move that council closes the ordinary meeting of council on the 21st of May 2024 in accordance with section 6(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020 in order to consider confidential information as it contains as defined in the Local Government Act under section 3 definitions confidential information. Thank you.
I think you've got to, yeah, yes,
Thank you.
please.
Okay, item A, cancel business information, being information that would prejudice the council's position in commercial negotiations if prematurely released. Item B, security information, being information that if released is likely to endanger the security of council property or the safety of any person. And it's got G there. I don't know whether that's supposed to be G or C. C. Private commercial information, being information provided by a business, commercial or financial undertaking that 1 relates to trade secrets, or 2, if released, would unreasonably expose the business, commercial or financial undertaking to disadvantage.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a second of that? Councillor Neer. All those, any discussion for that motion? All those in favour of that motion? Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you for attending. The meeting's closed.